Let me just tell you guys that I did put in the Mop and Beta channel some of the quiz results. So really appreciate the participations. We had 21 participants this time, so woohoo. 12 people got 10 out of 10 on the quiz. That's a great job. Of the 12 people, 3 of you forgot to put your names on that quiz. So
Whoops.
if you think you didn't put your name, and I know Critmar, you're one of them because you told me, but if you think you didn't put your name on the quiz, just send to me what you think you answered for the bonus question. Like try to get it as word for word of what you put. And the bonus question was around what happens if there's more than 9 people in the noise canceling shield. And I'll get you credit for that. And then I'll let officers know who we can who is on the like list of people. So but if you're not Resto, Shimothy, Soul, Benny, Kaisa, Maru, or Setja, you guys all got 10 out of 10. And so I know it's not any of you, but uh we
You
will
know, in
continue
state
to
testing, you'd fail for not putting your name on your fucking test.
Um,
So they shouldn't get the 10 out of 10 if they forgot their name.
Well, the problem is like if I make that a required question, I have to give it answers, and I'm like, I'm not gonna
It's a
spend the
background
time.
requirement. If you can't remember to put your name on the form, then you don't get credit.
it's like rule
Anyway,
number one.
um, but anyway, the question that was missed the most, and that was by almost 7 of the 21 people, is on that first one around the inhalability and how much it increases the damage of exhale. So Wowhead, the video, Icy Veins all said 100%. The tooltip, which I didn't even think about looking at, actually says 50%. So I'm just going with what the video says because that's what these quizzes are based on and that's what we talked about. We will need to figure out what that damage percentage is though. So
The in-game tooltip does say 100%. It's likely the 50% is a future nerf type thing.
Well, I
gotcha.
did I did look at patch notes and I did not see anything indicating that it did get nerfed. So I think 100% is probably safe to keep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but it was a good discussion because I think it at least forced you guys to kind of go look. And so I'm happy that you guys took it, but I really appreciate everybody participating. So Um, okay, today's agenda, we're going to cover Vizier. We are not going to do this boss on Heroic Week 1, so we're only going to look at the normal version. We will do Heroic for Tayak, Garalon, and Meljarak. So I hope everybody's watched at least the normal versions of those videos because we're not going to watch the normal versions. We're going to watch the Heroic versions. And then there's a couple of discussion items for each of those after we watch them. So anyway, here we go with Zorlok. Let me know if this is loud enough for you, Trey.
Vizier Zolok, 25-man normal in the heart of fear.
Hello, and this encounter is very similar to beta.
It's what? It's
So if you have
next
seen our
one
beta
changed.
video, yeah, it's more or less the same. A few things have changed.
Now for this encounter, you want to bring 1 tank, 5 to 6 healers, and a mixture of DPS.
Now, if you'll see in the encounter area where you actually fight the boss, it consists of 3 different platforms. And when you pull him, he'll run to a random platform where he stays until you take off 20% of his HP, and this is when he'll switch to another platform. Also, when you pull the boss, the lower parts of the room fill with gas. This gas silences you and does ticking damage, so don't stand in it. You'll also be running from platform to platform, so any speed increases that you can use to get to a platform quicker is good, so like any savage roars or anything like that.
Now each of these platforms give the boss an ability which he loses when he leaves the platform. We're going to cover each platform ability one by one, but before we go into that, there is one bit ability that you need to know about which he keeps throughout the whole entire fight, which is Inhale and Exhale. Now Inhale is when Zolok gives himself a buff which increases the amount of damage Exhale does by 100%. Now the Inhale stacks only drop if they are over 3 and he does an Exhale, so it will never go ridiculously high. Now Exhale is when Zolok will create a beam between him and a player, stunning that player and doing a lot of damage. Now if someone stands in between the boss and that Exhale player, the stun will be removed from that player and the beam will go to the new player, dealing less damage, and of course that new player hasn't got the stun. Now what you need to do is just have your tank stand in that beam every time it's cast.
Now you might want to bring an extra tank just for that purpose, as it can hurt when it's on fairly high stacks. However, you can just have one tank turret.
Yeah.
But you might want to use like cooldowns or get your healers to help you out with various different cooldowns when it does happen. A note for melee is to make sure you are not too close to the boss, as it will make the tank's job a lot harder to stand between the beam and you. The boss does have a huge fucking hitbox.
Yeah, it's massive.
You can stand pretty far away. Another ability happens when you're not in melee range of the boss. This is called Song of the Empress. He does a really long cast, and if you do not get to melee range with him by the time he has finished it, he will just completely explode your raid, and that's it. You're dead. So you always need to make sure that you have at least one person,
Which is your tank.
ideally your tank, within melee combat with him.
Now, this will only ever happen, really. It should never get off. But the only time you really see him cast it is when he's just gone to a platform and you're not there yet. Now we're going to be moving on to the platforms, and we're going to cover them one by one. Now the platform on the left gives attenuation. Now this makes him spawn a shit ton of orbs that spiral across the platform, dealing a lot of damage if you get hit by them. Now the orbs spawn in a shape that is very similar to the corners of a square. Now this shape will move either counterclockwise or clockwise from the boss, and you just need to follow it round in order to guarantee you won't get hit. You can just try and dodge them, but it's most likely that you will just die. So just move around the boss following where the orbs spawn, and you should be absolutely fine.
Now the platform on the right gives Force and Verve. This is a channeled cast that the boss does, and it hits really, really fucking hard. However, before he channels this, he gives you 3 noise cancelling zones. These are just like, they look like bubbles, basically. Yeah. And if you stand in one of these, it reduces the amount of damage that you take from it by 40%. However, you can only have 9 people in each zone. If you have more than 9 people, then it doesn't work. So you need to make sure that when you do actually go to these zones, that you have a maximum of 9 people in each, and you might even want to assign it if you can very, very quickly on the spot.
Because of course you do have 27 slots available, so there's 2 extra slots, so you should be absolutely fine. Now, just because it's reduced by 40% doesn't mean it still doesn't fucking hurt, so be prepared to AoE heal a lot and even use your own personal defensive cooldowns for this, because it really does hurt.
And also you want to make sure that you're not too close to the stairs on the platform, as the zones can actually spawn in the gas.
Yeah, and that just fucks you hard.
Yeah, which is really, really bad. And yeah, it's a bit of a shit mechanic to the fight, to be honest. But there we go. Just keep away from the stairs, and that should prevent the zones from spawning in the gas.
Now the platform at the back gives the boss Convert. This mind controls 5 random players, which will then heal the boss at DPS rate, just generally fuck about. You need to damage them down to 50% HP to break the mind control. Do use CC, such as stuns and whatnot if you like, but just try not to debuff them too much so that they cannot damage when they come out, or they'll be taking a lot more damage. So if you give them like magic increased damage and stuff, or if you combust onto one of them, that's always bad.
Yeah, that's bad, yeah.
You'll probably end up killing them, so just be careful when you are breaking them, but you do want to break them quick, because they can, as I said, heal the boss or DPS you and shit like that. It's just not nice.
Now, when you're transitioning from platform to platform, you always need to make sure that your tank is the first one to engage the boss, and you also want to make sure that your tank's sort of topped up as he is running over there. Otherwise, Zolok will turn around and slap you very, very hard. Maybe enough to even kill you. So, also, tanks don't use the Warlock teleports. They will actually reset your threat. Not a lot of people know this. But yeah, if you go through a Warlock teleport, which you can use from going from one side to another, it will reset your threat.
Just before you're
That's
transitioning
really good
between
to
the
know.
platforms, literally just as you're going into the gas, you want to be casting things like Stampeding Roar and shit like that, because of course you can't cast it while you're in the gas because you're going to be silenced. So it's a really easy way to transition. Just make sure you cast everything before you get into the gas. Now, once you've done all 3 platforms, the boss will be down to 40% HP. He will then go into the middle of the room and inhale all the gas on the floor, which gives him a 10% damage buff and a 20% haste buff. You will then need to fight him there, and he will be doing all the abilities from all the platforms, so Force and Verve, Attenuation and Convert, all in synergy with one another. Now this can cause some really big problems. All you really need to do is avoid the abilities as they come to you, but make sure that you get the people out of mind control as soon as possible, because they can do like AoE slows and shit like that.
Yeah,
so if you're trying to avoid like attenuation, you're just getting dragged everywhere and you can't get to the Force and Verve thing.
Yeah, so you need to make sure that it really is a priority that you break the mind controls as quick as you possibly can.
But overall, the fight itself is very, very simple. It's got some very nice move away mechanics, and I like the fact that at the end, all the mechanics come together.
Yeah, that's
and
always awesome.
It's really quite nice.
I will say, I don't know if they changed something in the visual between the first 2 weeks that we did the beta. The first week that we did the beta, I had those big balls of circle light that you could see. The next time we went in, they weren't as visible. I don't know if that only happened to me or if others noticed that as well. So, but in either case, those balls are pretty easy to see, and so just make sure that you are dodging them at all costs. Like your damage at that point doesn't matter. You just need to make sure that you don't run into that and cause, unnecessary damage.
And
So,
then the Foji Weakor will even call out what direction you need to go, if you need to go
yep,
left or right. So
yep. So this one is it looks easy on normal, but it's not easy. So I would just make sure that you read the abilities again and also start to look. The big difference between normal and heroic, there's an extra ability, and then the shields only hold 7 people before the damage reduction doesn't apply. So it'll be even more important to kind of figure out who's going where for those things. Um, I will say range will always take the furthest shield. Leave the melee shield for the melee, please. And we'll just have to figure that out as we go. So, any questions on Zorlok? All right. We will move on to Blade Lord Tyek. This one's a fun fight. I gotta admit, there's a lot going on in this fight, so it's gonna be another one where you just really you need to know when to stack, when to spread, when to use some of your personal cooldowns, and be aware of some of the abilities that it has. So let's go ahead and watch the video, and then we can talk about a couple of discussion points here.
Tyek, 25-man heroic in the Heart of Fear.
Hello.
And this encounter, compared to normal, not that many changes, to be honest.
There's one new mechanic, Garofel.
And that's more or less it. There's a couple of things you need to know, though. There's
Yeah, I
various
suppose.
little tips we can give you. But before we go into the full ins and outs of the heroic mode, please do check out our normal mode guide if you haven't seen the normal mode version of this encounter yet, as we're not really going to go in depth on all the individual abilities that are on normal mode.
So for this fight, you want to bring 2 tanks, 5 to 6 healers, and any DPS makeup, really. You do need some range DPS, so I don't see why you'd stack melee anyway, but you do need some range, but that's all.
Now, this encounter still does have the Unseen Strike, which is the ability where he goes invisible and you need to stack up.
Except it does a fuck ton more damage.
Yeah, it does way more damage, so it's very, very important that you do actually stack up for this. And you need to try and position yourself so you definitely don't get hit by tornadoes. I know this is all normal mode shit, but it's very, very important.
Yeah, it's practically normal, but like gone completely apeshit. Everything does so much more damage. So when he does his wind step to you and does all those rends on everyone around you, that like ticks for like double the amount that it would
Yeah,
do
it's very, very
beforehand.
important that you don't get multiple dots on loads of different people.
Exactly.
Otherwise you are going to have issues.
It's all to do with just making sure that you do the normal mode tactic very well. Just don't fuck up the normal mode tactic, and you've basically got this fight down, except for one new move, which is absolutely lovely, called Blade Tempest.
Now, this ability kind of works similar to the pull-in on Syndragoza from ICC. Basically, the boss will pull everyone towards him and will start spinning on the spot and doing lots of like whirlwind cleave damage. You need to obviously turn your camera around and run in the opposite direction. Then after so many seconds, you'll get kind of a Lai Shi type effect where the wind will pull you towards the boss. I know Lai Shi pushes you the way, but it's the same sort of concept. You need to run against the wind, and then eventually the boss will stop spinning around and the wind will disappear, and then you go back to nuking to him.
Yeah, so literally for this, when this comes in, you just want to make sure that you're not too far away, because as he pulls you in, you've got to run out before he starts doing loads of cleave damage. So what's really good is if you have like 4 odd druids in your team, or 3, well no, you kind of need 4 druids for the last phase as well. Just use Stampeding Roars for every Blade Tempest, and this will just make it so you can always speed increase out of it, and then no one will take damage. And if you are too far away, you might not get that speed increase because you'll be flying for longer. So just make sure you're fairly close to the boss, not too crazy close, but fairly close to the boss when he does this.
If you don't have access to that many druids, then you can use Symbiosis on any DPS warriors. They will also get the speed increase, the raid-wide speed increase.
However, it is on a 10-minute cooldown. But the thing is, you only need 2 druids to get out of this Blade Tempest, but it's nice to have 4 druids so you can Stampeding Roar when you go into the last phase, of course, which is the Tornado phase. You can Stampeding Roar all the way there and then all the way back to when he changes sides. And that's exactly the same as it is on Heroic. It just makes it so it's quicker. It's just nicer for you.
So you need to make sure that you deal with this particular mechanic and all the other mechanics that are on normal mode, and then you need to look at transitioning the boss into last phase at 20%. However, it's very, very important that you don't just willy-nilly throw the boss over and go straight into the last phase, because if you get an unseen strike just before you decide to transition, people are going to be on low health, and when you are transitioning, you cannot control your character, and you are taking ticking damage. So if you're already low when you're going into this transition, people are going to die, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you need to make sure that when you do actually decide to drop the boss's health below 20%, that you do have everyone topped up, and there's definitely no unseen strike coming in or any other form of damage that's going on particular people or the raid in general.
Yeah.
Now, once you have transitioned the phase and everyone is inside the tornadoes and you're thrown to one side of the room and the boss is on the other side of the room, now before you immediately leave and rush to the other side, what you can do is heal everyone up and then decide to move, because people will already be slightly low, probably about half health or something like that. It kind of depends on how strong your healers are. If you feel like you need to heal up and make sure that everyone's almost full before you decide to move and heal to the opposite side of the room, then do that. Then heal up as a group. Otherwise, then, just run straight over there. I mean, it depends on your healer composition as well. If you have lots of mobile healers, then you can just run straight over there. But essentially, this last phase, it's just exactly the same as it was on normal. Avoid the tornadoes. Get to the boss on the other side using various speed increases that you may have, and using defensive cooldowns while you are running.
So that's pretty much it for this guide, to be honest. It's a really easy go.
All right, if you haven't watched the normal version, I definitely recommend that you watch the normal version. There are, other than when you do unseen strike, you do need to be spread more than 8 yards apart, so that when he does the wind step, or he sends out the hurricanes, like, you aren't creating that rend on the players that are around you. So make sure that you are not like just tunneling and standing next to your friends and partners, so that we can't like not get overwhelmed with that healing. That Blade Tempest, that is the Hurric only mechanic. I will tell you, it does take a couple of seconds to get used to it. I died a couple times on the beta testing because I didn't quite understand like how to position myself to run out. But any kind of movement speed that you have, so ghost wolfing to run out, blinking, disengage, heroic leap, whatever, that will all work as well. I would prefer to save our roars for the 10 and 20% transition. So we're gonna try to see what that looks like. But you don't cast, you start moving right away. You do need to get out of that middle circle, because that wall comes up and you will not be able to get out, and you're just gonna get slaughtered if you're caught in there. So ask me how I know, because I died like I think 3 times to that mechanic. So the other thing I would say is just make sure you understand where you're positioned, because I think Soul, I don't know if that was you, there was something in the way that was like sort of tripping over like a little rock or something. I don't freaking remember. So, but we will do this boss on Heroic, and we will take a second, depending on where we're at with the enraged timer, we will take a second to heal up before we run down. But make sure that you're helping out your healers as you're either entering into that tornado phase or running to the other end. Whatever kind of immunities you have to take reduced damage, pop it. So I am not sure yet if we can pop like immunities to damage or damage reduction immunities as we're spinning, like right before we transition. And I don't even know if it'd be worth it, because I think it would evaporate before we got to the other end of the hallway. So just stuff to do that. The other question that I had, and I don't know that we actually came to a good conclusion, is when should we lust? So we could lust at 20%, we could lust at 10%. We could also lust right off the rip to try to force him into having fewer unseen strikes and fewer blade tempests. So that's also up for discussion. Any questions, thoughts on this boss? I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know if that is an avoidable, like, I didn't try that on the beta. Did we try that? Did anybody else try it? Try to line of sight it or
No, I
something
don't
like
think
that?
so.
No,
We didn't try it as a group.
Yeah, but it is a good question, Charles. So let me add that to the can we us? Because if we can do that, then okay, that'd be great. But
during a tornado phase, there's a good chance that not all of our healers are going to have rocket boots and all that
Yep.
stuff. while getting to the end is important, staying as a group while you're getting hots and everything rolling on you is more important than just reaching the end. It's more important to arrive there as a group so everybody arrives alive. One of the things that we were running into when we were doing the beta testing was exactly that. Those of us that had boots would, rush to the end as quick as we could, but then we were not getting healed and we'd run out of self-healing and defensives and all that stuff and be dead before that end. So it's more so important that we move as a group.
That's a great point, Trey. And I will say, so when we do the 20%, we get flung down, we're going to take a second to heal up. If you have a heal, you're going to throw it. I don't care what spec you are. So druids are going to tranquility. I'm going to chain heal. I'll throw down a healing rain. So as much as you possibly can to get us as quickly topped off. It is not just a healer job to heal us up to full. So I'd like to just take the 1 to 2 to 3 seconds to just get everybody topped off, bandage yourselves, all that kind of stuff. So I think we have the DPS to not hit the enrage, and I don't think we'll hit the intensify, but I also don't know. So and for those of you that got that right, that the intensify will be the soft rage. It will get to a point where the damage he's doing won't be able to take it. So but we'll figure it out. All right. Any questions or other thoughts on that, boss? Opinions on Lust. At the start, 20%, 10%?
I think for Prog, we should do at start. That way we see more of the fight.
Yeah, I was just going to say probably at the beginning, just so then we can try and have as many people alive for transition as we can.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. On to Garelon. Who I hoping this should be one of our easier heroics. If you haven't watched the normal version, make sure you go watch the normal version. The abilities are sort of the same. There's only two real main differences. So
25-man heroic in the Heart of Fear.
Hello, yes, this fight, it's very, very similar to normal mode. They actually haven't changed it too much, except it has got a new phase at the end, or kind of a new phase. Kind of the boss acts like it should do it.
Yeah, the boss actually becomes a boss.
Yes, which is good. It's lovely, but we'll cover that in a moment. Now, if you haven't seen our normal mode guide to this fight, then please do go click up on the screen on that annotation now, and that'll take you straight over to it. Because we're not going to be covering all the normal mode mechanics, because everything is very, very similar in this fight.
So just go and familiarise yourself with
Yes.
that. Now, for this encounter, you want to bring 2 tanks, 5 to 6 healers, and mixed DPS. Rogues are still awesome. With all the cleave they can do.
Even after the nerf they had for this fight, it's still very, very good. But it is very important that you do kind of bring both ranged and melee. You do need to bring quite a lot of range though, because of course you need to have that pheromone rotation going on. Now there are a couple of changes to this fight, as we said, and we're going to go through them right now. And the first off, the boss doesn't crush when you swap the pheromones as he does on normal mode. Now he just does it periodically.
So he'll just do it whenever the fuck he wants.
Yes, practically. And this does affect how you have to do the pheromones rotation, but we'll cover that in a second. Second off, the pungency debuff, the one that increases the amount of damage pheromones does to, well, everyone, increases the amount of damage it does.
Whenever you have pheromones.
Yeah. It now lasts 6 minutes instead of 2 minutes.
that is not accurate. So looking at the logs, it's actually 4 minutes, not 6 minutes.
As it lasted on normal mode, and the boss really can only last for 7 minutes, so you can only have pheromones once, and this means you have to have a lot of people in your rotation. Another thing we'll cover in a minute. And of course, we've also said that at 33%, the boss does go into a new phase, which is awesome. It's nice to add a little extra thing on top of a little boss like this.
Now, before we sort of go into the last phase, we're going to talk about everything pre-33%.
Yeah, so basically, for this, you just want to do it exactly the same as normal, switching on roughly 13 pungency stacks with the pheromones. However, as the boss is now just crushing periodically, you may want to do it before before or after a crush is coming in, because he is going to crush, right? And you're going to have all this damage coming in from your pungency stacks being quite high at this point. It'll be around 13 and the boss crushes. That means that everyone is going to take a lot of pheromones damage from, because the pungency debuff is high, as well as a crush, which also does increase damage from normal mode and stuns you still. So what you might want to have to do is that you might want to switch your pheromones just before a crush comes in order that everyone doesn't die during this stun. Now this is something that your healers really want to try and work out in between themselves, because it depends how good your healers are. If your healers think that they can handle it with raid-wide cooldowns and stuff like this, because it will overlap quite frequently.
So if you are going to make it so every time you do switch of 13 stacks, however you are dying when someone is on 13 stacks and the crush comes in at the same time, then your healers either need to pick up the game, or you need to change the person with the pheromones just before a crush does come in, and this is all displayed by timers and everything like that. So
yeah, in this footage, and if you're doing this 13 stack rotation, it'll take you about 13 players as part of the rotation. Now if you, of course, you have 25 players available, but some of them of course are tanks and some of them are melee, and that's not very ideal. So there is room for movement, and as long as you call out and have good communication, there's no reason why you can't have each one of your range members at least take the pheromones. Well, you only really be able to do it once. Maybe if you're one of the first people, you'll be able to do it twice towards the end of the fight. But either way, there's no reason that you can't use all of your members of the raid to do this, and that's all you need to do differently for the first phase. The boss still fixates you, so you just want to keep it going around the outside of the room while the boss chases you, killing those 3 legs. You want to try and leave the front right leg because it's always in the fucking pheromones and shit like that.
depending on which way you're kiting it.
Depending on which way you're kiting it. So it's the same as normal, except you just want to change the pheromones around.
Now once the boss does hit 33%, he'll become damaged and he'll enter his last phase.
Yeah.
In this last phase, he will have an aggro table and will now hit the tanks and will no longer follow the person who does have pheromones. So you can now start dumping the pheromone trial wherever you want. It doesn't matter, as long as it's not in the group and it's not on top of everyone, and yeah, just take it away. Put it wherever you want. Now in this last phase, the boss does hit extremely hard, so it's important that you do call out for external cooldowns as a tank, and you should know when to do that. So when your cooldowns are down, make sure you ask for a cooldown from your healers. You may even want to work out some sort of rotation just to make sure.
But if you do manage to reach this last phase, as long as your healers are good enough and your tanks are good enough, then it's really not difficult. It's actually kind of easier. So if you can reach this last phase, it's normally GG, as long as you're not too far behind on the enrage timer and you've got the pheromones sorted out still. What is advisable at this point is maybe saving up some legs towards the end so you can just quickly kill them all off at once, and maybe going to that front right or front left leg, depending on which way you kite it around, in order to be able to knock the boss very quickly down from, I don't know, like 5% down to 2% really quickly. And that way you should not really have too many problems with this fight. It's quite easy in comparison to some of the other fights in this tier, so there shouldn't be too much problems, really.
So thanks for watching this guide. If this guide did help you out, then please do drop us a like. It helps us out a lot. And make sure to comment, rate, and subscribe.
And if you're
So just want to point out a couple of things. So this purple circle, I tripped it myself. We've also had a lot of other people trip it. You got to make sure that you're not crossing that plane, and it is a instant. If you cross it, doesn't even matter if you jump out of it. Foji's Weakor is going to tell us that you did it, and you're going to bring Crush down on us. So Crush now. Sorry.
So sorry, Foji's gonna call you an idiot if you do
Oh,
it.
is that what he says? I
Yeah.
didn't even look.
Yeah, it says idiot really loud.
It will trigger a crush, and the one advantage to heroic is crush is now on a timer instead of every time you switch pheromones. So we want to control how many crushes come out. So make sure. The other thing that I noticed is I do like having the range sort of stack up. I do know that the legs give you a damage buff if you're standing in the circle. However, I think in 25-man, it's going to be very difficult to have that many people spread out trying to chase the legs, and then also that ability of trying to cast while you're moving. So I would say if you're ranged and healers, we're sort of going to follow that pattern. If you noticed, they moved as the boss moved around the room. And so, I think our melee with their cleave abilities are going to carry the fight to get us down to that part. But, I want to make sure that we sort of stay stacked or try this out first and then see how it goes. We do need to figure out the pheromone order and we need to figure out how many soakers we want, and we need to figure out how many, what we want to switch on. When I looked at some logs, it was sort of like some were doing 13, some were doing 17, 18. I think it'll depend on how many we want to do from a like raid wide damage perspective. So, but that one I think is going to be pretty easy for us as long as we can get the pheromone order down. And you're going to need to make sure that you know that you're next. And get ready to be in position. Don't wait for it to hit 14 stacks and you're like way out in Narnia. So you got to like jump over to wherever the person is. Make sure you're tracking where that person is. If you have the pheromones, you also have to make sure that you're far enough back that you don't eat the furious swipe. It is a frontal cleave. You will see the black circle that comes out and it has a range and the tanks are going to be eating that. So you won't have to worry about it if you're far enough back. The initial pheromone is triggered by whoever is closest to him when we engage. So we will make sure that we set that up from the get-go and then go from there. Any questions? Thoughts, comments?
From a melee perspective, targeting the legs is a huge pain in the ass, and you have to hit them from the front, and they have a very, very, very tight hitbox. So just make sure that when you are damaging legs, that you're actually damaging the legs and not the boss. And yeah, that's about all I have.
You can do both, but the priority should be the leg, because you have more damage on the leg.
Yeah. The other thing I would say about the pheromones, it's not tricky, but you have to make sure that it's on you or it's on the person you're passing it to before you run away. And don't run through that person, because all you're going to do is pick that back up, and it's going to be hard. So be thoughtful about where you stand when you're either dropping it off or picking it up from someone. And then at the end there, when we still have to drop pheromones, it looks like he doesn't do crush anymore when he gets to 33%. So because you saw that they transferred the pheromones and there was no crush. So we could probably just reduce the number of stacks depending on how many people we have eligible to do that. But you can see why it makes more sense for range to do this than melee. Because if we pull a melee off to go do this, there's basically a whole DPS out of the fight. So.
Also, if you do have pheromones and there is a crush incoming, make sure that you're moving at the last possible second for it, because there were instances on beta where we were getting caught with pheromones and a crush, and then because we were stunned, the pheromone was just killing us in the pool.
Yep.
I know it happened to me several times.
Or at least have a personal robbed, ready, going, whatever, just so you don't kill yourself.
Yep. Okay. All right. I think this boss is going to be a couple pulls, but I think we'll be good. I think we've got a lot of great raid cooldowns that are going to help us with mitigation, and especially if we're stacked in ranged there, I think we'll be really good. So, okay, moving on to Windlord Meldrak. This boss, just as a teaser before we get into the heroic guide, you are going to have to be very good about knowing when to single target and when to cleave. And you're going to need to know to be able to pull yourself back from cleaving when we need to go single target and vice versa. So it is really important that we take advantage of the way that the ads die so that we can maximize the debuff and the extra damage the boss takes. So let's watch the video and then we can talk about that.
Lord Meldrak, 25-man heroic in the Heart of Fear.
Yes, this boss arguably has actually become a bit easier, if you think about it.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, the boss has changed quite a lot in terms of how the ads, like, they respawn and shit. Is really quite cool, and we'll be going all over that in a minute. But if you haven't seen our normal mode guide to this fight, then please do check it out, because we won't be covering what each set of ads do, because you should already know that, because you're trying it on heroic, which means you've tried to kill it on normal already. So yeah, you should know this shit.
Go watch that.
Yeah.
There's an annotation on the screen now. Now for this encounter, you want to bring 2 tanks, 5 to 6 healers, and a mixed DPS makeup.
Yeah, arguably AoE and range slightly better, maybe, but it's not really too important. You can kind of bring anything.
And as we mentioned, the fight has changed quite a lot, and when the ads die, when a group of ads die, It will then respawn after 45 seconds. However, when a group of ads does die, the boss will now take 600% more damage.
Yes.
Which is quite incredible. But the boss will also do 50% more damage.
Which is the same
which
as
is
it
the
was
same
normal.
as normal. Exactly.
However, this thing only lasts for 30 seconds, so yeah, that's also something to take into account, this debuff he gets.
To get into the encounter, what you actually want to do is have a rotation of killing a set group of ads and then nuking the boss once that set group of ads dies for that 30-second period. And then kill another set as soon as that debuff is gone, and then you just want to keep repeating until the boss dies, essentially.
Yeah. Now, the only real issue with this fight is because you never really had to deal with the ads as well as the wind bombs, and this will happen. And the main real bastards for the wind bombs are the amber trappers. So what a lot of people are doing, and what we can kind of recommend you to do as well, is because you can CC 3 ads, not 4. You can only CC 3 sets of ads in this on heroic. We recommend that you CC all of the amber trappers. This will make it so you won't be prisoned while you're trying to move from a wind bomb once the boss is sub 75% health, and also you don't have to move around with that fucking annoying little goo you get on you. You need to drop that as well, so you don't have to be running into where wind bombs may or may not be spawning and stuff like that. So if you actually CC all the amber trappers at the beginning of the fight, or pull the amber trappers over to one place and then CC them all in one set spot really far away from everyone else, then you kind of don't have to deal with them, and then you just have to deal with the other 2 sets of ads throughout the fight. Now, because you will have 3 of the battle menders, which isn't really a problem, you just need 3 set interrupters and, well, some people that can dispel, and as well as you're going to have those 3 blade masters. Now, these 3 blade masters, of course, they have that one move which all charges one person. The only issue with this is if the boss has just done, I don't know, a lot of AoE and someone's got hit by something, and then they all charge that one person, there is a chance that they might die. So you could, in theory, try and CC 2 amber trappers and one of these blade masters. This will mean that you will have 1 amber trapper up, which will be a pain in the ass, but at least you aren't necessarily going to get insta-killed. But that's only really if your healers are pretty bad, really. Like, if you really think that you're not going to be able to heal everyone up after an AoE, or you're not going to be able to save someone who's going to get dashed on, then you may want to CC 1 of the blade masters. Otherwise, we recommend that you CC all 3 of the amber trappers over in one corner. So to start the fight, what you do, you just pull the boss as normal, CC those 3 ads, and then you all group up, and then you just start AoEing like shit. And then what you want to do, as well as doing all the interrupts and blah 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 blah, moving out the boss's mechanics, is you want to, once all the ads are getting quite low, you want to single target down 1 set group of ads. Once that set of ads does die, then you just want to nuke the boss for 30 seconds, because he has got this 600% increase on him. You may even want to pop bloodlust and stuff, I don't know, it's up to you. You just want to nuke the shit out of the boss, while you've of course got that other set of ads up. So you either would have killed the blade masters or the battle menders, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. So you've killed that 1 set of ads, nuke the boss, and then once the boss's debuff has dropped, we recommend then that you kill the second group of ads. So say if you did kill the blade masters first, and you kill the battle menders, or if you did kill the battle menders, then you will kill the blade masters. And then all you do is just keep rotating that, and then of course the boss will start throwing wind bombs as well, and then you move out of that as well while doing this same rotation, keep nuking the boss, and then eventually, well, he will die. Now, the only reason that you don't like just instantly kill the amber trappers, and you're like, well, I don't have to move anymore because the amber trappers are dead. Well, they are respawning every 45 seconds, and if 3 amber trappers spawn all at the same time and they want to be a cunt and then just trap 3 people while the wind bombs are going on, that's gonna kill you, because the wind bombs are like raid wide. So that's the issue with the amber trappers. You just cannot allow anyone to get like hit by these wind bombs, because it'll just fuck you up real hard.
Arguably in this encounter compared to normal, that the AoE damage from the boss is a bit lower, because you're not going to have the 150% damage increase for a long period of time like you do in normal mode for the whole of the last wind bomb phase, if you want to call it a phase. So it's not that much to heal up. It's just very important that you do heal up very quickly in using raid cooldowns such as Tranquility and stuff like that on when he does do the spinny AoE shit, just to top everyone up as quick as you possibly can. And one thing to note is that for the tanks, when the ads spawn, they won't respawn where they've just died. They'll always come back from like where they initially spawned. So you might need to move the boss around quite a lot to pick up these ads, or hunters and rogues might want to MD just so they, they don't go around hitting random people and stuff like that. But apart from that, the encounter is very simple. It's not very difficult. You shouldn't have many issues with this fight. And that's it, really.
So thank you for watching.
Okay. The ads will always spawn from the very back of the room. I noticed this when we were doing the beta. So, and they don't have an aggro table. Like as they're spawning and landing, you'll see them sort of like fly in. So we will probably need to just do, make sure that our tanks can either taunt them over, or we do some misdirects or something like that. So, I don't remember getting hit, but I do remember my aggro flashing before they went on to the tanks in there. So, the other thing I will tell you is that wind bomb, like, make sure that you like don't stand in it and don't stand near it. So, because I think when it explodes, it does do a little bit of an AoE splash, and I moved out, and that's what killed me because like stood literally right next to it. So, um, and just make sure that you are spread out. We will probably have our hunters CC the amber trappers. So we are able to pick up 4 spears, but we can only CC 3 of the ads at a time. If you try to CC 4, the boss will reset all the CCs and we'll be in for a world of hurt. So we can only do 3. Just make sure that if you do pick up an extra spear as a backup, if you've been assigned that you're not using it unless you're being told to use it. So the whirling blades, the other thing I would say about the whirling blades, and I didn't quite understand this until we experienced it, is it does go out and then it comes back. Like you can see it coming. You can try to avoid the initial damage. You shouldn't be taking the damage on the way back because you should have already moved from that capacity. So
Charge, you have something?
yeah.
So
Charge
for the
away.
CC thing, you can't like polymorph, right? And then that would fuck
You
up the
can't.
3 CCs.
You
right?
cannot use any CC above the 3 spears. If you like fear,
Right.
any sort of like incapacitate, fears, disorient, anything else will immediately break them all. So
Right, like we don't have to use the spears. We can just use
Right.
3 we can use 3 mages with 3 polymorphs. We don't have to use the spears, but if we do any form of a 4th, it immediately breaks all of them.
Yeah. You can
And then we're fucked.
polymorph them. You can, I don't remember what other ones that I saw other people do. I think you can ice trap them or whatever. But just recognize that any direct damage to them is going to break it as well. So don't be tab targeting in this fight is all I got to tell you. Ask how I know this. So
chain
Not
lightning
only that,
Wilbur.
yeah. Also, when you do need to kick the battle menders, you actually need to kick and interrupt
Yeah.
them. Their heal. No fears, no nothing like that can be used on them to interrupt them. It's literally just a kick.
Yeah.
We will set a rotation order for kicks, and we'll also mark the battle menders as well. Please stick to your assigned target. And then I think for the sake of Prague, we'll probably be planning to kill the battle menders first. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
Nope. You're right. Because we don't want to be trying to kick while we're in that burn phase.
Yep.
Yep.
And you can target your battle mender and then cleave off of that if as you AoE. But your battle mender needs to be your primary target.
And then after those battle menders die, we go pure single target on the boss.
Yep.
We just need as much damage during that buff as we can. As soon as that buff is over, the other ones respawn. We go back to cleave, rinse, and repeat.
Yeah.
Army is also very good there. So
Well,
I'm
if we
sorry,
just
can you say that?
if we just keep cleaving during that period, even like then we run the risk of killing another set of ads, and then we lose the part of that debuff that we get.
yeah, I'm just saying that Army is very good there, right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and like I did put down, and this is a quick ass fight. If we do it right, it's like literally 4 minutes. It should go Battle Menders boss, Blade Masters boss, and then a set of Battle Menders, and then dead. But just making sure you guys understand. So we are going to cleave them down all at the start, get them down to, I don't know, we'll have to figure it out, maybe 20, 25%. And then we are going to single target the Battle Menders and kill all them first. And then we're going to go to the boss. Then once that debuff expires, and I think it's for 30 seconds, I'm pretty sure, and he takes like 600% damage. Once that debuff drops, we are going to cleave down the battle mender or the Blade Masters, and then we're going to go back on the boss.
And the biggest thing for range is those wind blasts because those will wipe the raid almost.
Yeah.
You hit one, it starts a chain reaction, and it's going to be very hard to recover, even if we hit one.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. The only other thing that I have not been able to figure out how to mitigate, and this may be just a question I ask in the Foji Guild help channel. The Korthik strike that come out from the Blade Masters, I can't, it doesn't look like, it looks like it's a random ability. I don't know if it's on a cooldown. I don't know if there's a timer for it. I didn't see anything like that when we were on beta. So it may just be an ability that they can do. It like one shot us every time that we were doing this. I also didn't see them targeting the person that they were about to go on. So we're going to have to just kind of play around with making sure that you're popping some defensives, or if you see it going out, or I don't know. So, or we may just end up having to battle res you, but somehow there has to be a way to maybe mitigate some of that damage, because it is a lot of damage.
And I think it'll be less likely, obviously, in 25 that they'll all target the same person. Because if they target 3 different people, then we're fine. They just take a third of their health, and you're fine. But
No, I'm pretty sure they all target the exact same player. I'm
I
almost
don't
positive.
believe so. It's
I
supposed to
don't
be
think so.
random.
I think
it's just that in 10, it was much more likely that
Exactly.
we saw that.
Let me go look.
and it happened to be Raven every time.
I think it also one-shot Knight.
Yeah, see, this is heroic 25 on Wowhead. Korthik Elite Blade Masters focus a single player and strike them in unison.
Yeah, but that's the specific one that's doing that. Each one has that ability.
Right. So they'll each individual one will target one player, but I don't think it's necessarily all the same person.
I want to disagree, but let me pull up the log just to make sure that we can test it out with the log theory, because we were just looking at this right before everybody joined. Oh, that's not it. Sorry, I gotta find like a. Now I gotta find a 25-man kill. Make sure it's an actual 25-man kill. Okay, this looks like.
Yeah, I gave you a link to one.
So enemies, damage done. Korthik strike. So they cast it 3 times and it went on one player each time. Do you see what I'm saying? Unless, well, because otherwise I would expect to see 9 players targeted with Korthik strike here. Does that make sense? If each one has an ability to.
Can you highlight over the time? Does it show the target?
Yeah, see, it's all the same target.
Well, that's just one of the Korthik Elite Blade Masters, isn't it?
It's just Korthik strike. It's the damage taken by.
Change it from remove the Elite Blade Master. It'll still have the ability ID, and let's see if no, it doesn't.
Yeah, I am almost 100% sure
Do damage
it's single
taken.
target.
And then friendlies. Then do the Blade Strike ability. Or I do sources, all sources.
I was gonna say, wait. From this guy.
Yeah.
Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
See, there's multiple instances where someone only got hit by a singular of the Blade Masters.
Well,
Right, but I
it's the
assume the
Blade
monk. I assume the monk
Master.
on the top is just the tank getting hit. So
See,
There's also multiple melees from different people.
yeah. So I did Blade Master and Korthik strike, and it's still only coming up with 4 people.
Well, that warrior only got 2, and they're in melee.
Yeah, I don't know. He was also, I think, the last one, maybe.
Well, they all die at the same time because they share a health pool, right?
Yeah. Yes. No. Yes. Sorry. So I don't, that's actually something that we should probably just make sure that we know. Is it one person is going to get hit once by each of them, or are they all hitting the same target, all three of them? If anybody finds out before we can
Can
investigate.
you shrink the timeline for one of the just click on the grid and drag. Go before it started, or that's fine. So they all, that singular person got hit on this one.
Yeah.
Was that for every instance?
Let's see. Yep.
It appears
That
to
one
be.
there. There's the warrior. So he only got hit once. So I wonder if you can dodge. Do you think you can dodge
It would
these?
say mitigated in that case then.
I mean, the replay would probably show what happened to you. Maybe he just like heroic leaped away.
But it
Yeah,
does
It's
so
look
like
like
100
every
yards,
single
so-
time it was one person.
the Icy Veins is also saying that all three Blade Masters target the same random raid member.
Yeah, if someone finds out something different on that, let me know or like post it in the channel because right now I'm assuming based on what I've looked at that it's all the same member. And so, but in all the logs I've also looked at, none of these players have died to this. So it's just weird. Except that dude, that guy. Oh, that's why he did die because that's why it only hit twice.
Makes sense.
So, but the other players stayed alive. So I don't know if there's a secret. I don't know if there's like some immunity that we can pop.
I was about to
But-
say we could even just like if they have timers on like Foji and stuff as to when it's gonna happen, we could even just pop like a rallying cry or something just to give them extra health and
Yeah.
hope they live.
Yeah, because I don't remember seeing a timer on the beta, but I could be wrong. Let me add that to the list. So, okay. And that is the first 4 bosses of Heart of Fear. So just a reminder, we are 3 weeks from the raid being released. And so I'm pretty darn excited. I think we're going to do really well our first week. I think these watch parties have been good. I hope you guys have enjoyed them. I've enjoyed prepping for them. So just make sure that you're going back and watching, going back and reading the notes, the TLDRs that we put in the channel. You will have to look because some of the other threads have go hidden once there's no activity. So you do need to go search for them. But I'm usually on Sunday afternoons prepping for these. So if you have any questions or want to join, just let me know. But any other thoughts around the first 4 bosses of Heart of Fear? So next week we will spend time on Amber Shaper and help me, the last boss in Heart of Fear.
Empress Shixir.
Yep. I can't. I was like, oh.
Yeah, the first boss and the last 2 bosses are well, I guess I don't know how the last boss is compared to the other 2, but Amber Shaper and the first boss are extremely difficult.
Yes. And I'm hoping we can maybe cheese Amber Shaper. I don't know. I've sent Knight a couple of videos. I don't know if we can actually do it, but we'll see. And that's really forcing the create life into one player. So you only need to rely on one person, but I don't know if it'll actually work or not. So, but yeah, we'll talk about those 2 and then probably do some very high level TLDRs for toes because that will be further into the raid pack. So I'm not really focused on prepping for those fights just yet. Okay.
Cool. So
I
we're
have-
gonna put everybody's names that entered the quiz into a wheel. We'll spin the wheel and we'll announce who win, and I will send you 1,000 gold. Thank you again for all the participation in the quiz. It was astronomically better than it was last week. Thank you again for these watch parties and being involved and engaged and everything like that. Again, no question is a stupid question, so if you didn't want to ask it with as many people around or anything, just feel free to DM any of us as well, or you can post it in the Mott Beta channel that we have. I mean, other than that, I don't really have anything. So thank you very much, guys.
Thanks. I'm gonna go to the bathroom now.